Oh, there he is.
And Joanna's.
Sick cough.
Like he's in a hotel. Where are you?
I'm in
Oh,
Saratoga
Saratoga.
Springs in my hotel room.
Whatever
you're ready. Sorry.
Okay. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Can we stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Move on to roll call. Ms. Jason,
Here.
Ms. McDonald,
Here.
Mr. Feldman,
Here.
Mr. Liebel,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Here.
Mr. Belanti,
Here.
and I am here. All
Motion.
motion, thank you. Couldn't come up with the word. Motion to accept roll.
So moved.
All in favor? Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We are going to postpone executive session till the end of the meeting. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It carries. Minutes of the previous meeting. Any comments or questions? I have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
We don't
Oh,
have.
we don't have to do
because
that where it's
yeah.
Next week.
next week. God, I need to wake up a little bit. Maybe I should have gone to Tim's. Communications. Anybody have anything? Nope. Okay, we have no unfinished business. So Dr. Genestri, it's all you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Battaglia. We call this up here tonight. We have some friends in the audience. Work. There it is. So hopefully it'll work. Right. So last week, or was it 2 weeks ago now, Sweet Home played a giant role at the New York State School Boards Association conference. Its annual conference it hosts school board members from all across New York State, including administrators, teachers, etc. In Sweet Home, it was in Buffalo this year, and we were fortunate to have two presentations. The first one was on our electric bus strategy, which was interesting because we reported on our progress with our plan in moving forward and how we needed a transition plan in order to qualify for grants and funding, and also work with our grid. So there was a lot of interesting questions, to say the least, about the mandate, and some districts are further ahead than others with moving forward on the mandate. And so it was interesting. We took a lot of good questions from the audience, some heated questions, and we moved forward from there. Our next presentation was one we were extremely proud of because it featured some of our students from our ACT team, Alliance for Cultural Transformation here at Sweet Home, related to our DEI work. And we always say that it's important that our students be recognized for their great work, but we're nothing without the student voice here at Sweet Home, and the student voice has been strong with our DEI initiative. And if you take a look at some of the pictures there, we were very fortunate to have some leaders with us that are here tonight in the audience that we want to recognize them for their hard work and their presentation to the New York State School Boards Association. There were about 100 people in the room, and they all across the state wanted to hear how Sweet Home has handled DEI and how we are moving forward and how our initiative has grown here in the district. And we were really proud to have students with us. And that was an important piece of it because without them, like I said, we are nothing and we can't really move on. And so to hear their voice and school board members hearing their voice was just extremely powerful. And several commented in the audience how it was the best session they attended while they were there. So they got to hear from our students on how the initiative started, the work that they're doing, and how they plan on moving forward with this. So we are super proud that to have some of the members of the ACT team that were at school boards in our audience tonight, and we wanted to recognize them for their efforts, not only on the ACT team, but for presenting in front of what can be a pretty tough crowd of school board members there. So we are very proud of Muhammad Deju, Tommy Hayter, Summer Mack, Lily Fisher, and we want to also recognize our advisors, Wendy Janikowski and Brandon Woods, for always being supportive and always making sure that our students are with us and prepared and their voices are heard. So I want to give them a round of applause. Some of them are here tonight. They did a great job. I also want to recognize Mrs. Bayless, who leads our DEI effort here and is working hand in hand with our student leaders to make sure that the word is spreading in our hallways and in our classrooms amongst our students. And of course, Hunter's on the ACT team as well, and couldn't do the work without all of you. So I would like to recognize, and I know some are here, so if Tommy could come on up. Tommy.
Wait, turn around for pictures. Good job.
Our next media hero, Summer Mack, was also her picture is in the New York State School Boards Association Onboard magazine.
Thank you.
Representing Summer. Thank you so much.
Job, Summer, so proud of you.
And Lily Fisher, who we did a podcast together on the initiative on this. And we'll make sure to get Mohammed his certificate as well. And just again, it was the reaction from the crowd was incredible, and I think they captured the hearts and minds of a lot of people in that audience, and made Sweet Home really a role model school when it comes to DEI work. And
just the poise that these young people showed in front of there must have been, what, 15 tables there with at least, and then they took questions, and you never know what somebody's going to throw out at you. And they handled it with such poise and dignity. And I got to tell you, they represented Sweet Home. They were fantastic ambassadors for Sweet Home. So
very
Yeah,
proud.
I'd like to add on to that because I think Mr. Jason hit the great point there too. I mean, obviously, when you guys came in the door, you knew what your presentation, what you were going to talk about, but you had no idea what, the 100 or so people in the audience were going to ask you, and you all responded to those questions. Wonderful. You did a great job.
Yeah, and I was also there, and I mean, it was awesome. It was, everybody was so proud of you guys. And the comment that was made, that it was the best presentation, that wasn't made behind the scenes. There were people that stood up at during the question comment period in front of everybody else and said, this is the best presentation at the entire conference. And that wasn't the first day. I think that was the second or third day.
It was Friday.
So,
Yeah.
it was just, incredible. And it's when we're up here and, we're going through a lot of issues, and I also sat through the school, electric bus one, and, that's important, but, it's just so nice to see these kinds of presentations, and, it makes you, reconfirm, what it's all about, which is ultimately the students.
And I think you've done a lot to push the agenda forward, because people were asking you, how do we go forward with this? Because they saw how far we had come. So I think you encouraged people to really start thinking like-minded and move forward with this, because they see the possibilities in all of you.
So thank you. We're just super proud of your efforts and your voices. And we look forward to tapping into your talent as we move forward in our initiative. Just want to say thank you for putting so much of your heart and energy into this initiative. So thank you again. Great job. If you'd like to go home, you can go home. But you're more than welcome to stay, of course, as well. So thank you.
We got work to do.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
And congratulations, everyone.
Oh. A future little panther. I know, she's adorable.
All right. We also wanted to congratulate newly inducted members into our National Technical Honor Society. The ceremony was, I think, 2 weeks ago. And Sweet Home has 6 students to receive this distinction, and we'll make sure we get their certificates to them. But Eli Crowther, Akriti, Diatal, Armad, Hain, D'Amico, Hammer, Reagan, Humphrey, and Megan Orgic, always representing Sweet Home very well, and making sure that they met the requirements for the National Technical Honor Society and the work that they're doing in their program there. So just wanted to recognize their work and say congratulations to them as well. You may have noticed yet yesterday afternoon, the Blue Ribbon Commission from the New York State Education Department released some recommendations and some new measurements for graduation. The commission has been doing work for years now. I think there was a pause during COVID. I remember actually attending one of the meetings and one of the public forum sessions that they had in Buffalo a few years back. So this work's been going on a long time, and there's been talk of replacing Regents exams and streamlining credit requirements and diploma requirements. But some of the things that are on here, and I'll just go through them quickly: replacing the 3 diploma types with 1 diploma with the option to add seals and endorsements. Civic responsibility, ethics, cultural competence, financial literacy education, fine and performing arts, science, technology, engineering, math, credits, and writing, including writing skills for real world scenarios. Very happy to see more real world concepts that will lend itself to graduates. Ensure access to career and technical education, including internships and work-based programs for students across the state. Move to a model that organizes credit requirements, including content area credit requirements, into larger categories. Math, science courses could include the STEM category. So very nice to see that we're breaking from the decades-old tradition of courses or a sequence in Regents courses. Reduce and modify diploma assessment requirements to allow more assessment options. Create a state-developed rubric for performance-based assessments. Create more specific tailored graduation requirements to address the unique circumstances of certain groups of students, including non-compulsory age, newcomers, refugee students. Provide exemptions from diploma assessment requirements for students with significant cognitive disabilities and major life events and extenuating circumstances, medical, death of family member, trauma, etc. Pursue regulatory changes to allow the discretion to confer high school degrees posthumously. Require all New York State teacher preparation programs to provide instruction in culturally responsive, sustaining education practices and pedagogy. Require that the professional development plans include culturally responsive, sustaining education practices and pedagogy, and review and revise New York State learning standards. So they're going to take these 12 recommendations to the Board of Regents. They've already obviously unveiled their report, and then the board is going to decide how they want to shape policy around these 12 recommendations. But in talking a bit with Dr. Wilson about this, I think we're on a good path, especially with our strategic plans.
So
So
it aligned so nice. I
Yeah.
took that and then next to it was our strategic plan, and it really sets us up to align nicely with
Yes,
whatever does come from this. I think we're in a good position.
that's an awesome exercise.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tell you, and I'm like this.
So yes, the connection to the strategic plan, we have the 3 goal areas. There's several connections to the future focus category, but you can make connections across the board with all of the 3 goals. I think the thing to point out is that, taking number 10 and 11, that's our DEI focus. And we're heavily involved in that work, as you just saw with our last presentation. And much of everything that we do there, that's the lens we use to develop everything. So our strategic plan developed through that lens, as well as our professional development plan, all developed through that lens, the New York State framework for culturally responsive and sustaining education practices and pedagogy. But there's so many connections to helping students be ready for a world that does not exist right now. Right? We're preparing them to be thinkers, to be people who can jump in and be problem solvers. And that is the whole core of the strategic plan. And so there is significant alignment. And definitely now that these are out is another step that we can take in our unpacking of our strategic plan with our community.
I love that they included our special needs kids
Yes.
specifically. I thought that was important. So knowing New York State, when are we gonna be able to use this for next year, or do you not think they'll?
I
come
think
back?
it's still a couple years out, but that's the next step. And I just read a little bit today because it's so fresh yet. I mean, we knew a lot of this was coming, but to see the document and it just said next steps was to take it to the Board of Regents for review.
So to piggyback on your answer there, the discussion amongst the
thank you.
regents will go through spring 2024 and then potentially roll out the changes the following academic year.
Okay, good.
Also happy to report that after school runs, we're scheduled for after the Thanksgiving break are going to happen. We have revised the way we do bus driver bids, and we had we had several bus drivers, I will say, sign up for our new bid process that includes after school runs. And so preliminary right now, we are looking at Glendale and Heritage to have the band and orchestra runs will stay as they are right now. Glendale and Heritage will have one additional bus 2 days a week after school and every other Friday. That run will start at 3:30. And I say every other Friday, the dates, we're trying to work with the schools and the teachers that want to run clubs right now to see how many students they have, when they want to run the clubs, and what the impact on transportation will be. So those dates and times are flexible and will change based on the information our principals are gathering right now. But preliminary, Maple Mirror and Willow Ridge will have one additional bus run 2 days per week and every other Friday starting at 4. The middle school and the high school will have 3 buses 2 days per week, one running in each kind of quadrant or not quadrant, but section of the district. The high school will depart at 4:30 and the middle school, and then it will go to the middle school for departure at 4:45. We still have a driver shortage. There's no question, but our new staggered schedules and new times have helped create these extra runs after school, as well as the bidding process. But we are still encouraging parents to transport their children, and seating may be limited on buses, but obviously we'll have communications going out as that happen. Runs could last up to an hour because it's going to be one bus covering quite a large area. Each building is going to communicate their specific plan to our families once the final plan is in place. And clubs will run without dedicated transportation if anyone who wants to attend has a transportation source. So we're going to assess whether our students need rides or not. And those who need rides will have one, and clubs. And if everyone in the club that signed up has a transportation source, that club will run without transportation if necessary. So to make it fair and equitable for anybody who wants to join. So we're excited to bring this back. It's not to our levels of the past, like 5 years ago or 7 years ago, but it's a start in the right direction, and we hope to keep momentum going. And we're very excited to introduce this back as an option and get this moving again.
Just to clarify, so if all of the students in a club can commit to having dedicated transportation, we're not going to assign them a bus. But if anyone does need transportation in that club, we will have a bus available.
That's right.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And then will you at some point reassess to see if we could add future clubs? Because
We're going to try and add as many clubs as we can. The principals are going to assess that information now. I'm hoping to add them all and see what the interest is out there, is going to really dictate where we can go. But very excited. This is a start, and we just hope to keep it growing. So,
Is there ever a case with, and this would not be a preference, I'm just wondering, where, the technology, let's just say like student government, if there's a student can't attend, well, we have Zoom, we have these other things. Is that, and maybe Hunter, you can even speak to that. Are there students that attend virtually ever, or if they're sick, or, maybe for some reason can't attend the actual meeting in person?
Yeah, so as is, our student government meets during the school day for the reason of us not having enough transportation after school. For that, we excuse the students from the class they are missing and communicate with their teachers as much as possible that we have to have these meetings during the school day. Anyone who can come is there. If not, we have agendas and notes posted in a drive folder that is accessible to all. We are able to do Zoom meetings if possible. We've done it before when Roman used to have BOCES in the morning and we'd have a meeting in the morning. He would run the meeting over Zoom. So it's something we have done and something we can do. Obviously, it's not preferable, but we can do it if needed.
and we can talk to the principals about that too, Mr. Liebold, if that's a possibility.
I mean, again, I understand it
Teachers.
wouldn't be what you'd prefer, but I also wouldn't want to exclude kids if there was a circumstance, and if the technology is there to the extent we can accommodate for a
Absolutely.
special situation.
The band and chorus includes the strings,
Yep.
everything, right? It's not just, okay.
That's been running and that will continue to run as is.
Fourth grade. So fifth grade band and chorus kicked off first. Then we had fourth grade band and orchestra kicked off first, and fourth
Okay.
grade chorus. Fourth grade
No, I just, because orchestra wasn't mentioned up there, it was just band and chorus, so I just.
Oh,
started those off earlier because they get ready for concerts and so on for the season. So
And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say, as the poster up there on the board, if you or anybody wants to be a bus driver, there is an open application process at Sweet Home, and we would be more than happy to talk to you and take your application and process it quickly. So. Just a quick thank you to Crosbys. They had a grand opening event at their store on Sweet Home and Maple, and I was invited to attend. And they want to be a strong community partner, so they have donated, as you will see on the agenda, 20 large pizzas to the district. We'll figure out how to get those once approved by the board and accepted by the board. We'll figure out a plan to distribute those pizzas around the district. But always want to recognize our community partners. And I know I shared Mrs. Jason shared a letter about all the great work that McDonald's does with us in our teacher nights. And so we're going to reach out to them as well and make sure we recognize them and any other community partners that work with us as a district. So it was a cool event. They had a lot of people there, and they recognized the district as a community partner. Also, our meat raffle is for Dollars for Scholars is scheduled for December 1st at St. Leo the Great Parish. If you haven't attended, it is a fantastic night out, a lot of fun, and a lot of great prizes out there with all proceeds benefiting Dollars for Scholars. It's a big fundraiser for the program, all going to Senior Scholarship Fund. There are 275 tickets. It sells out pretty quickly every year. And we encourage you to call district office to reserve your seat today. Again, a little change up this year. They're doing a $250 Wegmans gift card instead of a refrigerator or a freezer full of meat. So no one's disappointed by that, but the gift card goes a long way.
How are they doing with volunteers?
I think they're doing pretty well. I think we'll have quite a few volunteers, but I will check on that for sure. Yep.
I know last time when I volunteered, I did have a pork chop around my neck, Amy.
I was not there. I
Yes.
didn't know.
Pork chop around my neck.
You usually
Like-
do the shrimp. I thought it was
Because I'm allergic to shrimp. remember?
Yeah. Needless to say, it's a fun night. It's definitely a good night
It
for
is.
and great for Dollars for Scholars. As everyone knows, our thought exchange for our capital project is still open. It'll be open through the 30th. And the link is available on our website, and I'll make sure to put it again in my Friday memo. So the date is closing rapidly on that, and we encourage, I think we've had nearly 650 respondents already, almost 14,000 ratings of thoughts on there. And we're seeing some major themes that the focus groups will work on to flush out and make recommendations to the board. So once it closes, we'll reconvene our building use committee to kind of go through the data and work on focus groups to gain input from all of our key stakeholder groups.
Dr. Jestry,
Yes.
I went through that and I did ratings on all of them too. I rolled through all the comments. It's obvious that in some cases, people didn't follow the prompt at the beginning. When we get to that point, are you gonna be able to filter that stuff out and redirect it? Because I mean, there was a lot of them that were obviously students complaining about the food. Okay,
Yes.
that's not part of the capital project.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean something can't be done. Can that stuff be
Yep.
redirected when we finish?
Yeah, 100%. We're looking at all the thoughts that'll be in there. And I know Dr. Wilson's kind of facilitated that with BOCES, kind of similar to what we did with the strategic plan. We'll take all of the feedback and obviously anything that we can do to improve practice for sure. Yes.
And we had a similar thing happen with the strategic plan around food. So they're, especially coming from our teenage students.
We know where those comments are coming from.
Feed them, they will come. That's
That's
what they
right.
say, right?
That's right.
20 pizzas.
And that's what I have for tonight. One last thing, and I know some of our friends are here, but we are excited to move forward as a group with our contract talks. We want to continue to have those. I know we have a meeting scheduled in December, and we are anxious and ready to move forward and bridge the gap and see if we can resolve our differences and as a district office, I know we are hopeful that gets done and that we're excited to move that process forward. So December 11th is our session. So we'll be ready to go. Any questions? Good, thank you.
All right. So next up is the items of interest. We have some PTA meetings. It is music season. All of our band orchestra choruses have their performances coming up. And next week being the first of our holiday breaks. That brings us to open session. Do we have anybody that wants to speak before I have to read this all? No? Okay, great. On to new business, special ed, class placements, preschool placements.
I'm still getting through the 116 pages, but I'll have it done by next week.
Alrighty. Monthly financial reports. Any questions, comments? Disposal of obsolete property is a couple of vehicles and a vacuum, I believe.
They kept their vehicles longer than I keep mine.
The next item on the list is the Board of Ed goals. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at them? Do we have any questions or comments on them?
Yeah, I just had a question. I did have a question on the goal that talks about our elementary schools and our next capital project. Do we want to limit ourselves just to the elementary schools? Because we're going to be doing
Yep.
other things, but the way the goal sounded, it almost sounded like we were just completely focused on elementary buildings versus
Yeah.
the whole district. I don't know if that can be reworded.
Yeah, I can definitely take a look at that. I think that's, I would say, a focus, but not the only thing
Only
that we'll
focus, right.
address. And the way the funding works with state aid, there is money allotted to each school in the district or each facility in the district. And so a lot of it and a lot through the thought exchange has been focused on the elementary, but no, we will be looking at the district as a whole for sure. So I can take a look at that.
Just because when we talk about one community,
Yep.
that's,
Yep, absolutely.
In the rationale, it says.
it
in
explained
addition
it,
to,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
It just,
maybe
it seems so
just-
focused on the elementary group.
Yep.
But I like your additional comments, Amy. I think that was good.
Also, in goal number 3, talking about the equity audits, I know that the plan is to have them take place through the subcommittees, but we have had as a committee, we've talked a little bit about, there are some elements of the audits that, like, I'm on the DEI, the big committee, and like there are some elements that like I don't feel qualified to be measuring certain aspects. So I wonder if for now it might be better to leave out that the audits are taking place in the subcommittees specifically.
Okay.
Just so that because we're in the process of figuring out how the audits are going to work. So just to give a little flexibility for us to decide what's the best way of going through with that. I think for the most part, it will be through the subcommittees, but just in case, because I think that conversation is still ongoing.
Nope, thank you for that. Absolutely. And I know the DEI district-wide committee has talked about it, but kind of really hasn't set the true parameters yet. So I don't want to pigeonhole their work either.
Yeah,
So,
thank
okay,
you.
got it.
Any other questions or comments about?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on, I know I mentioned this through an email and appreciate the fact that the first goal was changed to also emphasize student achievement. And, I mentioned in discussions that I think a lot of the things we've been working on over the last few years are very important, but I think, it's from a lot of the reading and studying that I've done, they're the very effective districts out there continually commit to the advancement of student achievement. And I understand a lot of that in goal 1 and in the strategic plan is directed at that, but I appreciate the fact that we're actually specifically calling it and mentioning student achievement. I think related to that is, and we have to flesh this out, but the monitoring of that. One of the things I have found is that more than just talking about it is that there isn't a process or an approach by which we can review information and see the progress, not just on an annual basis, because it's like, okay, another year goes by. Well, there goes the class of 23. It's figuring out a way, and it doesn't necessarily mean the test scores and the things like that, but it could be things like how many after school activities are we, there's a metric there, right? And then how is it next quarter? How is the quarter after that? Like, are we progressing you know, and some of these things may have to be fleshed out again, either within the district or as a board, what's important. But related to that, I would like to see some of that information provided, not just on an annual basis, but more on a regular basis, that we can see, you know, how are we, you know, moving towards some of these, you know, the achievement of some of the standards we're setting.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Okay, we have the corrective action plan. Mr. Feldman, do you have any comments on that?
No, the only correction to the plan on the corrective action plan was the excessive fund balance in our school lunch fund. The corrective action is that we filed just today, worked with Christy Zajac, our food service director, to file an approved spending plan to the Office of Child Nutrition at State Ed. So we've complied to the audit, and hopefully we'll hear back from the Office of Child Nutrition with an approved plan here shortly.
Great, thank you. Transportation bid, acceptance of the donations for the King Arthur flour and the large pizzas from Crosbys. We have our public finance lease.
What is that vehicle for? That's being leased?
So
The
Kaylee, Ms. McDonald, that's a front loader. It's a payloader. We traditionally, since I've been in the role and even before, we've rented that to the tune of about $34,000 over the course of a snow season to help remove snow. We're paying just above that now in a lease that will allow us to use it year round and to be able to allow us to own the vehicle in 5 years. So it'll save us money down the road, but it's a vehicle that rather than using just for snow season, we'll be able to use year round.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
And we're gonna add modified cheerleading. We are appointing doctor for medical examinations. Any questions on any of it? Great, let's do informational items. Sorry, Hunter, you're first.
So last week during the staff development day on Tuesday, the 7th, myself and our student body vice president, Erica Chan, participated in the district SHAPE assessment to assess our current mental health supports offered by the district. I had to say it was a very interesting perspective to see as a student just how many different moving parts and systems are involved in making sure that our students are receiving the best available services. Our Student Government Association is meeting tomorrow. We will hear updates from our committees. They've met over the last 2 weeks. We're asking them to share out. For example, our tech committee met just yesterday about solutions to staff and tech problems, such as sending emails to our cohorts, our grade level emails. Our music and arts committee is looking into more recognition for our senior musicians, sort of like a senior night that we do for athletes, but for our musicians and our artists. Food and nutrition's discussing providing more options for those with dietary restrictions, and also possibly creating a sort of internship program in Central Kitchen. Athletics is looking to get our athletes into visiting elementary schools and doing a sort of mentorship program where we would introduce different types of sports to them and hopefully inspire our younger students to pursue a sport and join our school teams when they're old enough. That's something Mrs. Boos is working on, reaching out to our elementary admins on, as well as our athletic director to see how we can best facilitate that. And then tomorrow we're going to be voting to appoint one last committee chair, a co-chair for our diversity and inclusion committee. Would also like to discuss results from a survey that we sent out to gauge student interest in a talent show for the high school.
Can I just say, I know I do this every year, but the Student Government Association blows my mind. You guys might be one of the most effective bodies of government that I have ever encountered.
Thank
Seriously, you should be so proud of the work that you're doing. And I'm really excited about all of those initiatives you have cooking, literally cooking.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Ms. Jason?
Just again, the convention, I left my notes at home, so I might review that next week, but I did stop by the PTA booth. And I guess every year, the head of PTA, our state PTA, makes a pin that they give out. So when they heard what a wonder, I represent Maplemere, when they heard what a great Maplemere PTA we had here, she's like, here, take these for all your PTA members. So we had our PTA meeting and I gave those out there. Some things we talked about at PTA, they had their turkey trot, Veterans Day, again, thank you to all our veterans. Let's see, the thought exchange, we really encourage people to continue to give their ideas in that. Mr. Ryan went over, spent a good majority of the time going over our New York State 3 to 5 assessment student performance results for Maplemere. Very impressive. Will we be having a presentation
Yeah.
too? Okay.
Yes, it's scheduled for December because we want to make sure we have the comparables of all the different districts
Okay.
across the
From
region.
the information he gave us, very impressive for
Excited.
Maplemere. Yep.
And
And
gains for us, so. it's
and
great.
then, you know, he had done a comparison with neighboring schools and we're right in there. I
Yeah.
mean, we're holding our own. Last of recesses is stopping until next spring. Thank you all to help make that work. They have 153 members, 44 staff, and 109 others. And that's kind of it for all that. And I just had a question on my way here. I was listening to WBN and they talked about a new process for when you have school closings. Are we good with all that, Mr. Feldman? I see you shaking your head, so we're good? All right, thank you.
Yeah, we got the email on that 2 days ago.
Okay,
So,
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald?
Firstly, I would like to apologize to the Heritage Heights PTA who are having their meeting, I believe, as we speak right now. I showed up to a very dark Heritage Heights last night, but the meeting had been rescheduled because I think because of the Bills game.
Yeah,
Probably.
probably.
So I apologize. I wasn't able to make it in October and I was really jazzed about making it in November, but missed again. But I will be in touch with them and send along a report of what we are doing over here. And I also attended the DEI subcommittee for teaching and learning, where we are taking a close look at the strategic plan currently. And we had I had a great time actually with my fellow middle child over there, learning about the habits of middle children and older children and the youngest children. And we all were in agreement that the middle children really have the best of the best. So, and I am, I'd like to hear, is there a video for the panels at the convention?
There is, I think Mrs. Bayless has that. She's got, she's already started showing some clips, I think, of Mohammed and Summer and their comments out there. So we'll make sure that that's,
Okay,
that's out there. There you go.
Perfect,
Um,
okay.
yep,
'Cause
sorry.
I was bummed to miss
I
it,
was-
but
I was looking for you.
And thank you for being there to take pictures too. So we had all.
Yeah.
that's all for me.
Wonderful. Mr. Feldman?
I attended a couple of concerts and the middle school PTSA meeting, which I forgot my notes for, so I won't steal your thunder, Amy, and I'll let you kind of talk about that. If you don't mind me setting you up that way.
That's fine.
That's it for me.
Fantastic. Mr. Liebel?
Yeah, I attended the Willow Ridge PTA meeting. That was last week. I think the big notable items there are, one, the fun run raised around $12,000. So another successful year for that. You might recall that started last year and they had a similar success. And I believe some of the other elementary schools are now also, or PTAs, PTOs are implementing or and doing a similar thing because the way this event is structured in such a way that it allows them to, have one bigger fundraiser and then focus the rest of the year on really events that and not having to worry about the ongoing fundraising, which still happens to some degree, but having that big influx initially is definitely helpful. So that was a success. And other things going on, just I think noteworthy at Willow Ridge is, I know that they've changed the structure of the student government, which is typically, you know, your in fifth grade, you have your president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, so on. They've switched to a leadership committee. So it's less about running for a position and more about, I think it broadens the opportunities for, you don't have to pick a position, and then if you don't get it, then you're off, you know, where this is just, you run for the leadership committee, and then a number of students are picked for that. I'm proud to say my daughter was one of those picked for that committee. So, and what they have to do, which is nice, is they have to submit a project that will benefit the school. And then that's how, and the kids vote on that. So, and then they have to present their project as far as how it would be implemented and whatnot. So, you know, that's a change that's happened. I also attended the school board association, the state conference, and learned a lot, and I'll save some of that for next week.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Handful of things. Right after our next meeting, I attended an update on special education put on by Harris Beach, one of our attorneys. They got a lot to say. I've got a lot of notes on that. I'm gonna try and piece them all together and get them out to you guys. Some of them brought up in things that there's a requirement for some policies, which I want to look at, make sure our policies are up to date before our policy committee meets again. And a handful of them were some new laws, which I'm assuming that have already been jumped on by our special ed community, but it was, some of them were very interesting just to listen to what they were talking about. I was probably one of the few board members there, so a lot of it went over my head. I met one of Mike's colleagues from Sherman. She happened to sit next to me. So that she actually helped explain a few of the things as we're going along. So that helped.
She's good expert in special ed. Yeah.
And we had the building use committee a couple days after that. We talked about that. We, one of the things that we talked about was the busing. Even again, we currently have 33 McKinney-Vento students. Those are the kids that were formerly living somewhere in our district, and they were classified as homeless. They've been moved somewhere, but they still have the right to come back to our schools. So we're still bringing them in on buses from wherever they currently are living. Sorry, we had the convention. I'm all the same thing. I've got a bunch of good sessions there. One of them was about the seal of civic readiness. I thought that was really good. I'm going to pass out some information on that. Same thing. I'm going to wait till next week on a lot. There was a bunch of things here. Sorry, I got to get by all those in the calendar. And then I went to see, through Erie County Association of School Boards, Dave Little, who is the executive director of the Rural Schools Association. He's been coming to speak with us for the last more years than I can remember. He always has good things to say. At his original start in the, he's by background, he's a trained lawyer. He worked in the state legislature, actually writing language for bills for a number of years. When he talks about what's going on with the state government and the legislature, you would never know where he stands politically, because he's very good about framing the issues without framing politics into the issues. Although he does have choice things on both sides in some cases. The things he talked about was the state budget, and they're getting ready to come up for they're just getting ready to start those discussions now. But he said most state agencies have been getting flat budgets for the last 10 years plus. Education is one of the few that's actually been growing. And as a state government employee for 35 plus years, I saw that happen for a long time. Specifically pointed out that New York State spends $30 billion on public education in the United States, and we are number one by far with how much they spend. And then most states the states themselves fund about 60%, and the locals do the rest. We're the opposite way around. The states here funds maybe a third, and the rest of it's funded by local school districts and taxes and some other things. He talked about the funding formula, because that's obviously been a big discussion for a lot of us, especially with ECSB and the legislative team. And he said the current one is 76 pages long, and he envisions it taking about 5 years to get it rewritten. See, oh, and he mentioned it at the point then, this was a couple of weeks ago, at that point, the Republican leadership in the House at the federal level had proposed a $29 billion cuts in education, including totally deleting a few funding or title funding areas. Obviously, there's still a lot more to go on that, but that was where they were at that point. Just a few days ago, we had a meeting to work on the planning for the legislative dinner, which is this coming Thursday. I think that's it.
Scott, can I ask you, with the recent elections, is there any turnovers that we need to be aware of that will affect us as far as, policies and, you kind of have your
Not that I know of. I mean, it's, the balance pretty much stayed the same
stay
in
the
New York
same, most of
as
it?
to where it was, yeah. But I don't think there was very many people that weren't reelected unless they didn't want to run, from
Right.
what I've seen. I do know at least two of both Assemblyman Conrad and Assemblywoman McMahon will be at the dinner on Thursday night. I believe Senator Ryan is, but I'm not positive of that. I'm looking forward to that. It's not just me and my co-chair speaking anymore. We've got a handful of other people talking about different topics and giving up the examples in their areas, just how they work. So I'm looking forward to that. And that would be it for me.
Great, thank you. Mr. Belanti?
I too attended the NISBA conference, and I think everybody's kind of covered that. I did attend the Dollars for Scholars craft fair. A lot of tables and vendors out for that. I know our fall sports have wound down now. We had some banquets. I did the volleyball banquet last week, and then I believe tryouts for winter sports started yesterday. So good luck to all of our athletes for the winter season.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
You went to the meeting for me, so.
I did. I attended the middle school and high school PTSA meetings. At the middle school, there was a long discussion around the activity nights. They talked about how coming back from COVID, they had a big attendance, and then now it's starting to kind of dial back. So they're looking to find ways to bring more kids in. That being said, they've got some great ideas, and they're using some student voice to help them make those decisions. They sold their Sweet Home, Bill's, Zuba's shirts. They're in, so they're working on getting those distributed. It'll take some time because there were quite a bit. And they are in talks for their next fundraiser. At the high school level, they talked about the success of the craft fair. And that they were wrapping up the wreath and poinsettia sale that ended on Friday, I think the 10th, and going forward, the bricks for gifts to do the commemorative bricks out front of the high school. Other than that, I attended the craft fair. That was great. I got there very late because my daughter had it. I did not.
I won 2 baskets. It was good, yeah.
I got there late. My daughter had a tournament in the morning, and I didn't get there until like the last
It was a great turnout.
hour.
It was a
But
great
it was
turnout.
still very busy for being that late in the day. So it was good. Attend anything? I don't think I attended anything else. I think that was all for me this time around.
Can I just say publicly too, I wanted to remember to thank Kaylee. She did all our Thanksgiving family.
Oh, yes.
Did all the families get covered? Do you
Yes,
know?
yes.
Oh, good. And then when do those get delivered?
I believe tomorrow, today or tomorrow, actually,
Okay,
I think.
good.
We did 2 families this year.
Oh, good.
So
So thanks for doing all the shopping. And is that going to continue for Christmas or for the
I'm
for
not sure,
the
actually,
winter
but
holiday?
I will keep an eye out and sign us up if it does.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, on to the next open session. Is anybody looking to speak? Do I need to read this, Mr. Simondera?
No, I'll just make a quick reaction, Mr. Liebel. Paul Simondera, high school faculty member. Mr. Liebel, you brought up some good points about clubs and advisors and just activities for the kids. I've been on the variable extracurricular activity committee for probably 20 plus years. It's just to give you a quick insight, and I'd be glad to help facilitate a presentation. I don't know that we've ever had a presentation, frankly, to the board regarding how it works, the scope of it. To date, and I was just trying to read it on my phone, so I apologize that I have to squint my eyes a bit, but I think we have 113 applications for advisors to run clubs with our kids before or after school, which is on par with previous years. But when you look at 100+ activities and things, you know, that's like 1 in every 4 teachers is doing something, which I think speaks to their expertise and student interest, because it's all about what a kid might want to sign up for, because there's a person willing to showcase or to provide an opportunity for them to learn and explore. What's really great about this, and this process actually starts in June, the year before, for applicants, teachers, to sign up and pre-register, so to speak, so that we could hit the ground running in September. We're behind schedule a little bit with some of the bus issues and things that we've been trying to organize and work our way through, but there's a committee of people who work out and try to just organize the approval process. What I find particularly interesting in this year's quick little lookup is that first, our clubs are really evenly balanced among the 6 buildings where we have clubs being desired to run. But most importantly, when a club worked last year, they're kind of pre-approved for this year. So we look at it because they've run, it's been an ongoing item. But it's when there's a new club that we've never heard of yet, where the committee really analyzes and makes sure that it fits the guidelines for what the club is intended to do with after school hours and things of that nature. But of this year's clubs, I find it really interesting that 60% of the clubs ran last year. In other words, we've seen it before, which means 40% are brand new. The title itself even is a brand new club that has either never existed or it's been years since it last existed. And some of the titles I was scrolling through the spreadsheet, everything from archery to dance to coding to clay things, you know, that is just really wide ranging, and it excites us as a faculty that we do have a mechanism in play, albeit a little late, but we're excited about that to work things out and to have kids participate after school. The one comment I would make is that the bus schedule, like I'd love to keep a keen eye on that, only because the proposal right now, a 2-hour window for the high school, is longer than what we've actually ever had. Normally they're hour activities. So we'll work with what we can, but it's exciting to nonetheless. But if you'd like to have a presentation, I'd be happy to help facilitate and, you know, organize something so you can have a better idea of how it works and the history of it and so forth. So I just thought I'd offer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. All righty. So moving on to personnel, teaching and administrative, and service. Any questions, comments?
Just got one question. Welcome back, Mark. I see you're on the list of vote.
Yeah.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn to executive session
So moved.
Second.
for student discipline?
Yeah, so that,
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We will.